to take a look at assignment 5. And assignment 5 can be a little bit more challenging because you have to do work up front with going through the Gallup homepage. So chances are when you're on the Gallup homepage, the first or maybe the second or the third article is not going to be the smart choice for the article to use. So what you want to do is, as you're browsing the homepage, you want to be able to look for a poll that closely aligns to your field of study or your interest. Otherwise, it's not going to be any fun to read. So feel free to kind of quickly flip through those. Once you're there, you want to go directly to the survey methods section of the article. So once you've found one that seems interesting, immediately go there. This is going to tell you how the survey was conducted. If it does not have all of the information needed, you can't use it. So what you want to do right there is you want to check that in the survey methods, they give you the population and the sample. So who is the population in the study, who is the sample, and how was the sample collected? Then you want to make sure that they gave you a sampling technique. So these would be some possible examples. If it doesn't say that, then it's not an article you can use. For this one, you also want to be sure that it has a confidence interval. That's kind of been the most challenging piece, is that sometimes it doesn't have a confidence interval, and unfortunately you can't get distinguished in the rubric because you have to address the confidence interval as well as the margin of error. Now, when you're interpreting this, keep in mind the larger the margin of error, the wider the confidence interval. The smaller the margin of error, the smaller the confidence interval. So when you're interpreting what that means, if they had a 90% confidence interval, kind of ask yourself, are you okay with being 90% sure? An example of this would be if they're trialing a new drug. Do you think it's okay if it only works 90% of the time, or if a side effect is present 90% of the time? So depending on the type of article you're reading, that could change. Once you're all sure that it meets all of that criteria, the last thing you want to check for is, does it give you the exact questions? If you don't have the exact questions, you can't use that article. So once you've checked all of those pieces, you're going to go into your answer document and you're going to answer each of these questions. Now, as you're answering the questions, you want to make sure that you really explain yourself. So I don't want to see it's a statistic with no explanation. You need to tell me why. It doesn't have to be a huge paragraph, but you need to give a little bit of background for why you're saying it. Also, as you're evaluating bias, bias is like taste. Everybody has one. Or opinions. Everybody has one. So there's probably some form of bias in the poll, whether it's, they called people on the phone and not everybody has a phone number that's listed, or they used the internet and not everybody has internet, to maybe the questions they asked weren't worded well. So when you dig into the bias, just know there is probably something about every single study out there that means it does have some type of bias.